First item, is there any public comment for the closed session item only? Anything virtually?
And not on email.
I don't have anything on text.
Any in the Oasis? Okay. None, all right, let's, roll call, please.
Trustee Rodriguez,
Here.
trustee Jackson Miller,
Here.
trustee Isaac Gonzalez. Here. Trustee Friedman. Trustee Donna.
Present. Okay, we're all here, and we're going to convene the closed session.
Bring your red folders.
No, right in between them.
Sorry about that, Amanda, about the order. I don't know.
Okay. All right, good evening, everybody. We're back in session. The best part of the meeting, or one of the best parts, I'm going to have Principal Platt introduce our pledge leader. Oh, there he is, right over there. Come on down and let's introduce our pledge leader for tonight.
Hello, board. Hi. Hello, everybody.
Is the mic on?
Hello? Yes. Hey, there we go. Sorry, I'll lean in. It is a great pleasure to be here tonight, and it is a great pleasure and honor to introduce our second grader in Mrs. Geis's class. It's Iana Melchor Benegas to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the reading of the mission statement. So if we can welcome her to the podium here.
Please stand. Place your hand on your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Soquel Union Elementary School District Mission Statement. Staff, students, parents, and the community share responsibility for each child's success. We are committed to ensuring that each student develops the skills and confidence for lifelong achievement and is prepared to make a positive contribution to our world.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? Okay, all right, okay, so I just want to stand while I do this. I have a certificate for you. A very wonderful certificate for you. All right, please stop. There we go. Okay. So Itzy is a second grade student at Main Street Elementary School in Miss Guy's class. Itzy is kind, caring, respectful, honest, and hardworking. She enjoys school and takes pride in the high quality work that she produces. Itzy is a problem solver and a go-getter. In her free time, Itzy likes to take time to dream and create. She is very artistic and she has an eye for detail. Itzy is a strong leader, has a strong leadership skill, and she is a role model for others. Go Itzy! Come on over here. I'll get you your, okay, there you go. It's very nice to meet you. Got it there? And then here. So when you're dreaming underneath the tree, you could draw anything you want on here. And then whatever you draw, I would love it if you could share with the board. You give it to Principal Platt and he'll get it to us. Okay, Itzy? Got a deal? Awesome. You're one awesome kid. Thank you for coming. Anybody else have anything they would like to?
You did great.
Yep.
You have a great speaking voice. Good
Yeah.
job.
Thank you very much. Picture. Oh, picture.
Oh,
That's
yes.
right.
No, can you come back one more time for a picture?
Almost need music right now.
Yeah. I'll bring her around here.
Yeah. see?
Yeah. Okay, follow me. So I'll bring it right here.
Principal class? No one.
That one, yeah, right here. Over your camera's gonna be right here.
All right, gang, is there a motion to adopt the agenda as it stands? Okay, first, second, Carolyn. Okay, all in favor? Hold on.
We want one addition to the minutes.
So I think we're just on adopting the agenda, not the consent.
Okay,
I didn't hear the second.
I know, but board members, could you guys move your, sorry.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
It was Carolyn.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay. There's nothing to report out in closed session. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as it stands or additions?
Phil had an addition.
We have an addition to the minutes.
Speak in the mic.
One of our speakers asked for Spanish translation for some documentation.
It was of the fingerprint form.
I'll second the motion to accept the consent agenda with that change to the minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Oh, I think I seconded. Did you make a motion?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a second, never mind. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public communications, do we have any public communications?
I do not have anything on text.
Nothing on email.
Nobody out there. Okay, perfect. Okay, we'll move on to the next best thing of the meeting. And this is a recognition of reclassified fluent English proficient students. And I'm going to introduce Dr. Kieran to come up and introduce the students. Or say,
I'm just going to say a few words of
Okay.
introduction and thank you, President Donnelly, for the introduction here. Well, am I good? Can you hear me? I'm just overjoyed to see so many people out in our audience tonight. This is such a wonderful event, and I'm going to read a few things that really the best part of this evening is going to be reading our students' names and recognizing them for the work that they've done. So I just want to start with greeting our distinguished students, especially their families and caregivers, our educators, and our Board of Trustees. Thank you all for being here and sharing in the joy of this celebration. Tonight shines as a momentous event in our community as we celebrate the achievement of these amazing students who have demonstrated hard work, dedication, and perseverance to learn a second language with the competency required to be redesignated as English proficient. This challenging journey should be honored and understood as a multi-year two-lane path. The first lane of the path is to build skills in academic subjects, while the second lane of the path is to, at the same time, build and produce a new and second language as readers, as writers, as listeners, and as speakers. Redesignation is no easy feat, as I am sure you can all imagine. The students here tonight, accompanied by their loving and supportive families, caregivers, and trusted educators, will receive a certification of redesignation to acknowledge their accomplishments. To begin this ceremony tonight, we'll start with some words of recognition from our superintendent and Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kiernan. I'll make mine very quick. I first want to say thank you to you for coordinating the event, and your assistant, Jackie Gomez, and everybody from the district office and the school sites who helped make this such a special night. Most importantly, I want to say students, parents, you rock. This is an amazing accomplishment. It's one of the most hard and fast defined accomplishments that can happen in our school district because you have to meet certain criteria. So you've shown resiliency, you've shown hard work, you've shown intelligence, and you should all be very proud that you achieved it and that you're a model for all of us for biliteracy and what being fluent in more than one language can do in how it will serve you in the future and how it's something we can all strive for. So I just want to say congratulations, and I will now turn it over to Board President Ted Donnelly. Oh, if you just want to say a few words.
Best words I could think of is congratulations. You did a great job, and welcome here tonight, and congratulations on your certificates as well.
All right, well, thank you, Superintendent and School Board President Donnelly. Now it is my privilege to introduce Sandy Figueroa, who is our Coordinator of Human Resources in our district. Sandy, thank you for being here tonight and sharing a few words with our amazing students and their families.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to be here with you celebrating your reclassification. Congratulations. This event holds a very special place in my heart. I reclassified shortly after my parents transplanted me here. Even though I was only 10 at the time, I can say that reclassifying has had a life-changing impact. I felt and I feel immensely proud to be recognized for such an important accomplishment, which became part of me and my identity as a second language learner. When I graduated from CSU Monterey Bay, I reflected on my educational journey, meaning and significance of my reclassification. My hope is that you remember your reclassification experience with pride and hope for the future. Be proud of the contributions you add to your school, community, and the world at large as a second language learner. Treasure the teachers that believed in you, encouraged, and guided you through this journey. Be inspired by your family's wisdom and hold on to your roots. The best is yet to come. Buenas tardes a todos. Es un honor estar aquí con todos ustedes celebrando su reclasificación. Felicidades. Este evento ocupa un lugar muy especial en mi corazón. Reclasifiqué un poco después de que mis padres me trasplantaran a este país. Aunque solo tenía 10 años en ese momento, puedo decir que la reclasificación ha tenido un impacto que cambió mi vida. Me sentí y me siento inmensamente orgullosa de ser reconocida por un logro tan importante que se convirtió en parte de mí y de mi identidad como estudiante de segundo idioma. Cuando me gradué de la Universidad de Monterrey, reflexioné sobre mi trayectoria educativa, el significado y la importancia de mi reclasificación. Espero que recuerdes tu experiencia de reclasificación con orgullo y esperanza en el futuro. Siéntete orgulloso de las contribuciones que añades a la escuela, comunidad y el mundo en general como estudiante de un segundo idioma. Valora a los maestros y maestras que creyeron en ti, te animaron y guiaron en este viaje. Inspírate en la sabiduría de tu familia y aférrate a tus raíces. Lo mejor está por venir. Muchas gracias y felicidades.
Barbara, are you going to introduce yourself? Good evening. So tonight, as part of the ceremony, students will receive a certificate of achievement, a book titled Words that has been signed by their teachers, and 2 flowers. One flower for the student who's worked so hard and achieved so much, and the other flowers for their families for all their support and their love. Now we'll start with Botanical Gardens.
Good evening. My words will be brief because we are here to celebrate our students and their accomplishment. And as you can tell, they didn't accomplish this alone. You were part of their journey and also their teachers were. And so it's actually with a lot of pride and honor that I get to introduce the ELD specialist at Santa Cruz Gardens who will be presenting the awards for our students tonight.
Thanks, Carissa. My name is Tina Bonner, one of the ELD specialists at Santa Cruz Gardens, and this is Desiree Satari, the other ELD specialist at Santa Cruz Gardens. We have two special names to announce tonight. When you hear your name, come on up, and after you receive your goodies up here, go ahead and stand on one of the blue lines at the front, okay? Our first name is Nelly Mendez Zamora. Our second student at Santa Cruz Gardens is Yaxidi Cervantes Soval. We'll give them a moment to take a picture. Thank you.
Actually, would you mind if you all would come and stand behind the students so we could get your picture as well? And actually, Michelle's gonna come around and take your picture. All right, our next team up is Main Street. Main Street, can you please? Thank you, Mr. Faust.
Thank you. So I will be brief as well, because we are here to honor you, but first I'd like to say congratulations to all the students here. Like our students at Main Street, it's because of your hard work and diligence that we're here tonight to honor you. It's also because of your parents and caregivers' support that we're also here to honor you. So thank you for supporting your students' parents. I just want to say that this is no easy feat to be able to speak multiple languages or be multilingual. It has been shown that it can improve memory, problem solving and critical thinking skills, enhance concentration, the ability to multitask, and better listening skills all come with being able to speak more than one language. So congratulations. My hats are off to you. You should be very proud of yourself. And it's also because of the help of our ELD specialist, Ms. Beth Willen, who helps the children as well. So I'd like to welcome up Itiana Melchor Benegas. Cristo Melchor Benegas. And we have two other students who are not in attendance tonight, Raphael Lincoln and Patrick Ost.
Can you guys come up also? Right, thank you so much. And our next school, I believe, is New Brighton. All right, and Ms. Adrius, are you ready? And Ms. Marquez, are you ready? All right.
Hello, everyone. It's just truly a great honor for me to be here tonight with all of you, to see all the hard work that the students pay off to walk away tonight truly multilingual and having full proficiency in English. All of you students here tonight should feel very, very proud of yourselves. We are here to introduce two students. One student can't be here. I'm going to introduce Ms. Marquez, who is our fabulous ELD teacher. She will be introducing the students. But I do want to just take a moment to say a couple things about our two students that are coming up tonight, and I'll let Ms. Marquez introduce them and say some more words. The first student I've known since sixth grade. I had the pleasure of being your older sister's teacher, Hi Monse, and watch her reclassify as well, which I'm so proud of. And Esther, you're just an amazing student. The world is in front of you. You have everything going for you. And I'm just so, so proud of you and all the hard work you've done, and a fabulous office date, I must say. The next student would be Talha. I've gotten to know Talha a lot this year. I had the pleasure of teaching math this year, and Talha was one of my students. And so again, Talha, I just wanted to say I'm super, super proud of you, and I'm really honored to be able to be here tonight. And I want to introduce our fabulous ELD teacher, Ms. Marquez.
So I am so excited to celebrate the success of my students, Esther and Talha. And before I bring you up, I've had such a wonderful time working with both of you. I just want to share, Esther, you are the queen of Zoom, the only student who turned on her camera, the only student who answered my questions, the student who always participated and always made me feel like I wasn't out in a sea of black squares. Thank you so much, Esther, for your hard work. I'm so proud of you. Come on up. And the second student I want to bring on up is Talha. Talha is the class clown, the life of the party, the student who works so hard, and I'm so honored that he now is my teacher's aide as he is reclassified. Congratulations, Talha.
I just want to acknowledge that we do have other MDMS students in the house tonight, but SoCal Elementary, I don't want to take that away from them. But I just want to acknowledge that congratulations to our sixth grade MDMS students that will be acknowledged in a little bit by SoCal Elementary.
All right, yes, get a picture. Wonderful. Right, and now for our SoCal Elementary. Are you ready? Great, great.
All right, hello everyone. It's an honor to be here. Students, congratulations to all of you. I'm Eric Witter, the principal at SoCal Elementary. Families, thank you very much for being here. To all of our SoCal Elementary staff, thank you for being here. And I just want to say, as was said, but I just want to say it again, how impressive this is. These students, they were held to the same standards in terms of learning content and skills as other students, and at the same time acquired a second language of English. Just such an amazing accomplishment. So congratulations. And now our two fabulous ELD specialists are going to read our students' names.
So we wanted to say that the first 7 students we announced are current New Brighton students, but they started at SoCal, and they will forever be SoCal Cougars in our hearts. Just like our 3 current students that we're going to announce. So here we go.
Okay, so the first student is Brian Lopez Marcial.
Okay, comedy bears here. This is you. Okay, your first time. Sit down, please.
Santiago Cruz Hernandez. So many things to hold up here.
Emiliano Díaz Martínez.
Ricardo Escalante Leva. And I don't think Ricardo's here, but let's clap for him anyway, because he worked hard.
Evangelina Fragoso.
Natalia Diaz Mendoza.
Ayumi Leiva Santiago.
Andrea Ponce Hernandez. Brian, you didn't know you were standing up there so long, did you?
Emiret Olvera Pérez.
Sebastian Picos Fajardo. Before we take our picture, I think I speak for all the teachers here. It's been an honor to be your teacher, and it's a highlight. And we love you. We're so proud of you. And we have lots of staff from SoCal here, so come on up and come get in the picture, everyone. Come on. There I see you.
Thank you all for such amazing and inspirational words and recognition of our students. I'd like to start in our closing remarks with having every single person in this audience stand and take a celebrated applause from us for all the work that you've done to make this happen tonight. So if you'll all please stand, we'd like to congratulate you. Thank you. And as we close this portion of tonight's celebration, I'd like to acknowledge this work truly takes a village. And some of that village is here tonight, but a village is an ongoing one. And so every person who has touched you and the lives of your students have brought us here to tonight's ceremony and celebration of this great accomplishment. I'd like also to acknowledge all of those who had a hand in organizing this event tonight. Jackie Gomez, Barbara Hubner, Hilda Hernandez Meza, Julie Livingstone, Tina Bonar, Desiree Satari, Beth Willen, Erica Marquez, Lily Espinoza, George Lopez, Lori Struckmeyer, Kathy Giannini, and Steve Cartwright. Thank you so much for your work. And now I'd like to say to our students, congratulations on your outstanding accomplishment. Today is one day closer to you fulfilling all of your life's hopes and dreams. You should feel proud, capable, and unstoppable because you are. Following our board president's call for recess, I want to extend an invitation to meet for our outdoor festivities, including food and desserts. But before you go, Miss Kennedy would like a picture of all of you in the back. So thank you again. What a wonderful journey this has been and a great celebration tonight.
Yeah, I'll definitely call for recess, especially for dessert. Okay. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting back to order. Come back from recess. That was a good recess. Okay, so next is standing reports. Let's start with Michelle.
Sorry about that. I forgot I was first up on the agenda. So the last few weeks has really just been working in business more than I have been with Allison. Has resigned from the district and taken another position. So just kind of catching up on the things that I haven't done in a very long time and helping my staff navigate through that. Had the opportunity to, I'm very sorry, I left my notes in my office. Sorry about that. Had the opportunity to attend a couple of different workshops this week, specifically around some HR upcoming pending new law changes. And we had our monthly meeting with the county COE for the financial users group. We talked about a lot of the new funding that's coming in, specifically through the state and through the federal government, as far as continuing COVID relief monies, being able to set those up and finding out our funding allocations under that. Had the opportunity today to meet with Climatech with Superintendent Turnbull and our two lead gentlemen with Climatech, Tyler and Rob. Talked about the progress that we're doing right now with the infrastructure upgrade. We're currently in a lot of DSA final plan designs and working with the engineer to get that going. Most likely one of the first things that will, their first item they have going through DSA right now is actually the solar structures, shade structures, because those will take the longest to pass DSA. But most likely the infrastructure upgrades with HVAC will begin sooner than that, because DSA compliance is not as intricate as it is with solar, and they're able to do that work in the evenings and on weekends with less impact to the school sites. They also shared some information with me today that I'll be bringing to the board in the next month or so, which is the RFQ that we're looking at for replacing all of New Brighton's windows and all of their existing older buildings that most desirably need to be replaced. And I think with that, that is my update for this evening.
All right, thank you. Dr. J.
All right. All right, I've got a new name. I'm loving it. I'm owning it. Okay. So I'll be brief. Since the last time we met, I had the opportunity to meet with our professional learning network, which is a group of job-alikes through the county. And I always love meeting with that group because we're talking about what's happening in our districts and the things that we're facing. And they're not dissimilar. They're very similar kind of needs and wants and excitement. Since our last time together, I also had the opportunity to meet with our district leadership team. I think we had 36 members at our meeting, which was a fantastic opportunity to see so many of our staff district-wide from each school. Also, we have a subgroup from the DLT that is our think tank. And that think tank came together and has come together over the past couple of weeks to put together the structure for our professional learning day, which was this past Monday. And it was really a true collaboration of that specific think tank, but also on that day, a true collaboration. So each of the staff members at our sites got to do site-specific work, looking at a variety of things. One, their own personal health and well-being, students' health and well-being, and then looking at some of the different data and metrics about our students and how they need to be with our students. So that was a wonderful day for them to spend together. We're just now collecting feedback from our staff about how they felt about that day. Right now, we have about over 50% of our staff who've responded. And there's always areas for growth and areas that comment about things that they really enjoyed. I will say 95% of the staff so far, having given feedback, said that their day was productive. 95% is probably the highest percentage I've ever seen coming from a PD day. So we're feeling good about that, but always looking for areas of improvement. We're also working with Infinite Campus to improve the student reporting process. The progress report experience was less than amazing, but we're hoping that the report card at the semester time will be a little bit easier and a little bit more smooth, and we're aligning some professional development for our teachers to make that a little bit easier for them. And then as recent as today, Barbara Hubner, she's here with us tonight. One of my very, very special colleagues in the way of supporting our English learners and our journeys with families. We met along with Lily this morning with our English Learner Parent Leadership Council. And Barbara started some work with them on going through the English Learner Roadmap and the principles associated with that, starting with Principle 1, and really took a look at the first area and the rubric about how we could assess ourselves, how we were doing in Principle 1. We were able to see that we're in lots of different places, areas for growth and areas that we're doing really well. And it's just the first step of many in a journey of building a really, really strong English learner leadership council. So we're very, very encouraged. That is my feedback and update for tonight.
Thank you. Scott?
Thanks. I'll try to make mine relatively brief. I just want to piggyback on a couple of things both Michelle and Jessica mentioned. Work with Climate Tech is moving forward, and it's going to be very meaningful backbone work to our district to make our students and staff safe and comfortable. So thank you for your work on that, Michelle. This celebration tonight, I know Jessica, you had a big team that contributed, so kudos to them. Kudos to you for your coordination. The best night of the year, in my opinion. So tremendous celebration. The PD day, as Jessica mentioned earlier, it's that old saying, you reap what you sow, and I really do think there's a lot of work that went into the sowing in this case, getting a lot of input from staff, and that's why the day turned out so well. So I'm just thankful to everybody who took the time to contribute to the planning of it so that it was a meaningful day. On the COVID front, we continue to have lots of layers of mitigation. The main ones being right now, or a couple of main ones, testing and vaccines. On the testing front, we continue to have weekly testing, screening tests with Inspire Diagnostics. We tested over 1,300 individuals in the school district, administered over 7,500 tests. So that's a key layer of mitigation. And now we have the vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds that is now available, and we will be offering at our school sites beginning next week. And also will be offered through the COE at Cabrillo College. So for those families who wish to have their younger students vaccinated, that opportunity and either at Cabrillo or at one of our school sites will be available next week. So we're excited for one more layer of mitigation. Thank you.
All right, great. And that's it?
That's it for me.
Okay, all right. How about the CSEA? Oh, okay. SEA?
Yes.
All right.
Hello.
Hello.
So, SEA will be meeting next Monday, November 8th, for our November general meeting, followed by our meeting with the superintendent and assistant superintendents. We will be discussing the evaluation schedule, healthcare surpluses redistribution, the dual language immersion program at Soquel Elementary, the board's plan to change to area elections, and more. SEA leadership is collaborating with district administration to develop an extension on the certificated evaluation timeline due to the late start to evaluations. We have appreciated the collaboration with district leadership on this issue, and we are all in agreement that timeline extension is appropriate under the circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, trustees, anybody want to jump in?
I have nothing to report.
Oh, there we go.
I have nothing to report.
Nothing except thanks for this amazing event. This is what I have to report. I attended this event and it was amazing. It was amazing.
I can hear you just fine.
Ken got it. He's not thinking about it.
Yeah, there.
Well, Ken has as well, so you can call him.
Oh, yeah, I was, I looked in my diary, and I was there too, which we meet with, like I said, Councilmember Story, Mayor Brooks, City Manager Jamie Nicholson, thank you. And then as well as Scott, Carolyn, and myself. And we just talked about Capitola and the school district and how we all could play well together and things are going well with our meetings. And that's it. And then I think that's it here, right? Okay, wow. All right, presentations. Let's discuss discussion regarding the superintendent's evaluation process. And this over to Scott.
Okay, so now in my 6th year, the board has established a regular routine for my evaluation, which I have found to be meaningful, clear, which I appreciate. The dates for that process are outlined, intended to be deliberate in nature so that there's clear goals, clear dates for when board members can begin their work on their individual thoughts, and clear dates for when they come together to produce an evaluation. I do want to point out, this is not going to be a good start to my evaluation. I do want to point out 2 dates that were wrong in the memo. I missed a couple of 22s that show up as 21. So we're not going back in a time machine to May 18th, 2021. That should be 2022, as should the June 1st date. So let the minutes reflect that those 2 dates should have the year 22 on them. And, as I said, this has been the process we followed for the last 5 years. And suggesting that we continue this process.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments from the board?
I won't hold the dates against you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
We all make them.
I agree, it's a smooth process. I'm happy to continue with it and accept the proposed dates and go with the plan.
So the dates are the same day, month, date, just 2022.
Correct.
Okay, all right. And Carolyn, nothing, okay. We do have a person who wants to speak regarding this item. Hello. Can you hear okay? Or are you, yeah.
Probably better if you came up there so you don't have to strain your voice.
Yeah.
Should we-
Oh, thank you, George.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Garrett, and I'm a retired teacher. And I have always prioritized health and avoiding toxins. So superintendents, school leaders, I'm always looking to you that when you've been informed of a problem, you do something to remedy that problem and make sure it's a safe environment. Now, I was listening to your report as well. This is my detector of microwave radiation, and it's way up to the red.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You have to stick to the topic, okay? The
Well,
topic is
this
the
is
evaluation
topic.
process.
So as evaluating, and the superintendent or anyone, when you've been requested to have wired internet instead of radiation emitting internet, that you've been given documentation of the harm, and I'll give another one. It's called Cell Phone Apocalypse by Arthur Furstenberg. Okay, so that's one thing. And I want to say superintendents of other districts in the past, Alan Pagano, when he was superintendent of Santa Cruz City Schools, spoke out against having cell tower next to one of the schools in the district. And I thought that was appropriate. And that's the kind of leadership I'd like to see. You just spoke about COVID and the shots and testing. And it's very disturbing how they're making schools into like medical facilities. And well, you can nod your head, but I want to give you a couple of references.
No, I just want you to say, this is the superintendent's evaluation, so.
Yes,
you're commenting on it,
I want to give you
so,
a reference for
So
evaluation.
speak to his evaluation.
Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin just had a roundtable discussion on adverse effects from these COVID shots. And one of the testimony was a parent whose 16-year-old son, he was a single father because his wife had died. His son died after the COVID shots. Now you're talking about the COVID shots for these children. I don't want more children to die and have adverse effects. So I suggest you check Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. And part of the testimony he heard of death and adverse effects was played on today's radio called Mama Bear's program, KSCO. Check it out. It was heart-wrenching. That's just one account. So in evaluating school officials,
All right, you got a 30-second warning.
I want you to act on behalf of children, find out what's safe, parents' rights to medical authority over their children, and the tests themselves are also dangerous. Thank you. I'm going to leave you with this cell phone apocalypse article.
Just leave it right
Please
there.
read it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, thank you very much. So is there any other comments from text or email
Nothing on
regarding
text.
this?
Nothing on text.
Nothing
Okay.
on email.
Right. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to our action item. And first one is that we're going to consider accepting donations from public and parent groups supporting our district. And that's Michelle.
Good evening, board. I'd like to say that in a normal year, I would have been able to bring this to you throughout the year. However, over the last year and a half, donations have, especially over last year, slowed down, as you know. So we inadvertently have not brought this to the board since November 6th of 2020. So we're catching up on our donations. So as you can see, there are some donations that were made in the last fiscal year, and then there are some that were made in the current fiscal year. That brings us up to date. We do this to recognize all of the hard work of our teachers and our administrators and our families and all of our partners in the community who donate so generously to our district and all districts out there. Without their support, our schools would not have a lot of the enriching programs that they currently have. So we appreciate their donations extraordinarily. We bring to the board any donation that's over $250 from a single donor. But I would like to mention that we have had many generous parents this year donate to individual classrooms. Their donations range from $10 to $30 or $40, whatever that may be individually. So we don't bring those here to this forum, but we have been receiving those since the beginning of the school year. So we'd like to thank the parents out there extremely for all their generous donations. So some of the big ones were from Sigma Alpha Omega Nu. That was a donation that they do every year to New Brighton School. They take the $1,000 and they divide it amongst all of the teachers at the school. So each teacher gets, I think, roughly $30 into their account.
Okay.
And we had the New Brighton Foundation that paid for the athletic director's stipends. A Life Touch is who we use for our photos. They take the pictures of our kids and we receive a percentage back from them with the contract that we have with them for every photo they take, a percentage back comes to the school in the form of a donation. So as you can see, there was a donation made to the three sites.
Is that class? I mean, they're school photos? or?
They're school photos, yes, that
Okay.
they use. So that's why those donations vary. As you can tell, New Brighton was the largest, obviously, because they take the most pictures. And we had School Plus. It was a donation for an outdoor learning environment support that both Johan Reiberg and Andrea Stepacosta had applied for, and they split this donation equally amongst both of their classes. And they have been working hard. I know they've been asking the district for some support with maintenance to give use to those funds. So that was really exciting. And the Lotus Network is a donation to one of our humanities teachers' classrooms. And it was a parent donation to the classroom to support the classroom needs. So those were our largest donations. And so I'm just asking the board this night to approve the donations on behalf of all of our generous donors.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who donated even less than $250, a little bit. Everything helps.
Yes.
And actually, and I'm sure the teachers appreciate it very much too. Any questions or comments from the board?
I'm glad to see Schools Plus is still there doing their thing. They've been around for a while.
Yeah.
I also would like to recognize the home and school clubs and all their hard work that they do. You will notice that there isn't an actual individual donation from a home and school club that you would normally see in years where they give an X amount, $300 or $400 per classroom. Three, I believe, all three elementary sites, the home and school clubs this year have decided to disperse those funds themselves. So the teachers go to them directly for reimbursement and then they track it. So there's not one large donation given to the district. But I wanted the board to know they're still being greatly supported by our home and school clubs.
Okay. Any comments?
Nothing on text.
Nothing on email.
Great. Okay. Was there a motion to accept donations from the public and parent groups support Soquel Elementary School District? First, second? All right. All in favor? Aye. Thank you again. Okay, next item, consider approval of the Equity Impact Action Plan. Scott.
Thank you, Ted. For this one, we have Dr. Holt, who I believe is ready to join us virtually for some support and to be able to answer any questions and that sort of thing. So last meeting, we brought to you a draft of the Equity Impact Action Plan, the fruit of a lot of work last year with several groups, but most specifically the Racial Justice Task Force. And you gave us a lot of good input on that. And so some of the revisions that we've made for the second reading include reformatting the table of contents, adding the district and community demographic charts on page 2. We made sure to include our 5th and very important school cliffs on page 2. We updated the Racial Justice Task Force members list on page 3. We added a chart with a lot of support from Dr. Holt. And I should mention Dr. Holt is from Nicole Anderson and Associates and has been vital in this work together. We added a chart intended to simplify the executive summary on page 6. So there had been some thoughts that maybe the executive summary could be a little bit more, have a little better level of readability, so to speak. And so the chart is intended to help with that. And a specific suggestion that we executed was to revise the way the phrase anti-Semitism was represented on page 38. I should also mention that on page 18 of the plan, just a clarification from an excellent question we got from a fellow board member was that the question was about the staffing subcommittee goals and actions are a bit more fleshed out. And I would just say that, you know, as I'm sure you can imagine, this work is not done like in a lockstep fashion and, you know, it's going to go at a different pace for each subcommittee. And that's why you see that subcommittee has their goals and actions a bit more fleshed out. And some of that work in that subcommittee is a little bit more able to address it a little bit more directly. So, it's not an error, it's just the nature of the work, and maybe a good just reminder that this is ongoing work. By considering approving a plan tonight, we're not saying the work's done, we can wash our hands. It just kind of sets our goals moving forward into place. Also on page 33 of the plan, there's a summary of the recommendations from each subcommittee. And a question was asked about, like, did everybody contribute on that? And so the answer is kind of in the middle. It's not like everybody from all three subcommittees got together and contributed to that, but everybody could see each other's work as each subcommittee went through it. So it was visible to each group, but it wasn't reconvened with the whole group to approve those in any kind of formal way. Again, it's just kind of a representation of the ongoing work of each subcommittee. And I think that one of our board members has a suggestion for a correction that it's only one word, but it's a very meaningful word. And that was on page 16 of the plan. And that is changing in the second sentence, the word they to we, which I think is critical. Might seem like just one word, but it's kind of like the painstaking steps we take to always say our district. It's kind of that same mentality, is that this is collective, collaborative work together. So those are some of the changes that were made from revision to this version, as well as a little bit of an explanation on some questions that came to us, and I thought could provide meaningful clarification. So I'll pause there, see what questions or comments the board have. We'll remember that we have Dr. Holt along to help answer any questions. I don't see her up there. I'm assuming that she's maybe can hear us.
Well, a lot of work has gone into this. A lot of work has gone into this. I remember, well, how long ago? I mean, a little while ago, it's just a, concept piece, and then it really grew and took off. And so thank you for the work that was put in this, especially the committee, and for their time, for sure. Anybody else?
Also, I noticed that there's still a lot of mistakes. One more read through.
Sure.
That, and also still some sentences that are. I don't know what we agreed on last time. Just to change the language. Summary.
So would you like to bring this forward at the next meeting? With the changes? And this could go in consent, right? Yeah, with the changes?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, if we, so do you want to go that way? There's no deadline, right? With this, okay.
I'm not sure what, am I making this, am I making the corrections or?
No.
Someone else?
Of course, in conjunction with Nicole and Dr. Holt, we can go through that. That would not be incumbent upon the board.
Okay, so we're gonna table this until next meeting. Is that okay? Is that, Phil?
So I have a question about, do we have any input or comments or response from our ELAC community? Has this been translated into Spanish, and have they seen it?
Not specifically with ELAC or DLAC.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's been available to anybody who would like to see it.
So if we could we get it sent to them so that they can comment? It is, I mean, that's the group.
Can I just make a comment, because I think that this is a really great question. I meet with the DLAC and I also meet with our English learner parent leadership council. And I think, you know, it's always the question of the chicken and the egg, you know, do you show them the plan when it's approved by the board, or do you get, you know, have some of that discussion beforehand? As far as the DLAC and this parent leadership group that we've established, I think we can safely kind of work with both of those groups and looking at the plan. Lily is one of the members of both of those teams, and she does our translations for us. So, you know, if given the guidance to do so, certainly I'm willing to bring it to both of those
Great.
teams if the board chooses.
That is our goal one, build concrete partnerships with both internal and external partners.
I think it would be easier from a practical standpoint to have a more polished version for translated Spanish, not the translator is going to have to do it all the time. And if you can't say sentences that.
So, a cleaner grammar and a lower level of readability, the direction we're going to take.
Yes, and just some of the words, it just seems like there's so many big words put together that kind of don't mean very much when you just really kind of try to, not everyone, but there's just some sentences that jump at me and I just say. So maybe doesn't, I don't know, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know specifics, specific examples, but feel like it's kind of needs
That could be a sentence I've been looking to kind of read over and over again sometimes. I guess like I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's kind of repetitive.
Yes,
So-
it's a little repetitive. There's some sections, it just seems like the same information all the time. Some things that maybe it sounds good, but it's too much.
And kind of engaging with Dr. Holt here. I think we're having just a minor technical difficulty, but she's with us and can hear us. And she was wondering so that we can take this back, and because we thought we had addressed some of that with the chart in the executive summary. That was our takeaway. And so, but of course, we want to make this something the board can be proud of. And so just wondering if you might be able to give an example of the type of language that maybe circular in nature that you
Yes,
referenced.
I can give an example.
Trustees, could you please speak into the microphone?
So,
Thank you.
For example, first paragraph. Is it not on? Oh my gosh. As the school board continues its growth and development to provide adequate guidance and support to both the school district and community, the manner in which each board member and the board collectively operationalizes their strategic support will become more streamlined and effective. I'm not even sure what that means, to be perfectly honest. The sentences like that sound fancy, but I think are just empty in content. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to, it's something I'm supposed to do, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It's like a recommendation from me, but I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. If anyone.
So as we continue, so what I would have taken as we continue down this journey, you know, some of the goals and actions in the plan will go from just goals and actions to being operationalized. So I would take that. But that's my interpretation, and our job is to make this something you can be proud of.
This seems like there might be an easier way to express it. So I know what I'm supposed to do with more clarity. Because I want to know. So that's just an example. There was another one I had shared with you for the previous time. I'm not sure if I can find it again, but it was also a little bit confusing.
We see,
Oh, here.
you have a mark.
Oh, here, yes. Here's another one. The development of an onboarding process for new members can capitalize on strengths of the challenges and opportunities of shifting of membership while continuing their collective work. I understand what it means, but it just seems like there's another way to express it. Oh, that was page 22.
Bottom of page 22.
No, okay, so one of the actions here is to do professional development as a goal too. So we'll be doing professional development for our instructional and operational staff, correct?
Which page is that?
Page 18 and 19. So it's the goals. So what we should have a budget is, if we're gonna make sure that this equity project of ours works, then I hate to say it, but I add a line in the budget. I hate making GL accounts, but
Yeah, I think I understand the need to budget any actionable item, but I think we may be moving away from, the intent of this plan, which is to kind of set philosophy
right.
versus, a plan that's intended to be.
Well, this
like
is
an
an
outcome.
action. Not philosophy.
Well, I'm just saying the nature of the plan itself is.
Oh, okay.
But if the board wishes there to be a budget with each action item, then
No, when we do budget.
I think for me, I think for me, it's, and I think I mentioned this last time too, it's us routinely bringing it back to the board for, constant conversation so that it's baked into the budget building process. Well, how are we doing on goal such and such, in terms of professional development? And is that something that's being addressed in, the upcoming budget, right? Like, to me, it's something that as the plan is worked through, then yes, it's addressed, but aren't a lot of these things already encompassed in the line items? I appreciate the clarifications. I just want to make crystal clear that I understand the recommendations and that they're really clear so that we can be accountable for them. And so I do appreciate that summary in the executive summary, that chart. And I just want to say what I think it means and have someone correct me if I'm wrong. So if we have the summary of the recommendations on page 7, we've got a set of bulleted recommendations for the board and a set for the task force. And then we've got the pyramids later on, 20 and 22. I think what I was a little confused about when I was preparing for the meeting was something in the appendix. Sorry if that's the process here. I think it was appendix B. Right, sorry, no, I'm so sorry. It's the summary of recommendations. It was page 33. So is the intention of the summary of the recommendations to help us flesh out those bulleted recommendations? They're in the summary.
I would say yes. I would say that, yeah, it's a place to try to pull those together to comprehensive chart.
Okay. I don't have a suggestion there. I'm just, again, trying to figure out a way to make it as clear as possible. So if different people at this table are looking at this in 3 years, that it still is really clear. And then I also wanted to ask you, this is an action plan, but it's also something that's like a living, breathing document and something that we can revise and update. Is that right?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay, that's it for me.
Then if that's it, then we're just gonna bring it back this next week with the with corrections.
Corrections, tighter, clearer. Yes.
Okay.
She should be able to talk to us. Her camera's not working, or we're having issues on the camera.
I'm here. I'm just listening. So I haven't heard an actual question yet. So I'm waiting for a question or something that needs clarified.
To comment on what was commented. Comment on the comment, since we have you on the line.
You're asking me to comment on what? I can't hear you. What?
I think, no, I think, so in general, there were some specifics, paragraphs and sentences, identified that, and I mean, this is my words, if it's the wrong word, but kind of circular in nature, that are being asked to, that the board is, asking to, streamline and simplify so that it's very clear what, their responsibilities are and what our responsibilities are. Those are some specifics and pages were noted. I think Linda has those notes. One was at the bottom of page 22, for example. And so those are some specifics. And I think in general, direction.
So the one on page 22, what was, okay, so what was asked on page 22?
So bottom of page 22, there is the last bullet. I'll read it. The development of an onboarding process for new members to capitalize on strengths of the challenges and opportunities of shifting membership while continuing their collective work. And if I may paraphrase, and board member can obviously correct me, that it was a little wordy and not clear on exactly what that means to us as a governance.
So that shouldn't mean anything to you as a governance team, because that's an actual action for the equity task force. So that's what the task force needs to do, is to establish what is going to be their onboarding process for new members so that they can capitalize on the strength of people that are already in the room and some of the challenges and opportunities that exist when you're shifting membership from a group that's already started learning together and growing together. And now you're adding new members who have not been through that learning and growing that they have been through the last year. And so if they're going to continue the work, they have to have a process to bring folks on board, very similar to a school board. When you're already in the midst of work and you're bringing someone new on, you're not going to go back for the whole group because you've added one or two people. But you still need to bring those one or two people along so that they can move forward with you. So you have to capitalize on the strengths and the challenges and opportunities that brings. So that's a process that the Equity Task Force needs to do, which is why it's under the Equity Task Force recommendations. And then above that are the actual board recommendations. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but perhaps we could just say something like examine the onboarding process, and then obviously we would know that it means that we have to examine all aspects of it and take into account for membership, membership.
Well, they're going to have to develop it because right now they don't have an onboarding process at all. So that's why it says developing of an onboarding process for new members. And some of the considerations that need to be made as they, as a team, develop that process, because they don't have one right now.
I mean, I understand what it means. I just think it's.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Hard to read, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'm sure other people would have a hard time understanding. So,
I mean, we could just say something like develop an onboarding process for new members, period. And then they can figure out the rest. If that's more helpful for the reading level of the group, then, I mean, that's fine.
I think that's a good example of what board members have asked.
Okay.
Yeah, Bill. So in the summary pages, especially on page 36, I'll say.
In the appendix, page 36.
And I don't know if it's what my tablet is doing, but is there some significance to the bold stuff?
The bold, let me see. So these basically, this I took directly from the groups because we wanted you to see, being transparent, I just literally took exactly what the groups were discussing. And so if they bolded it, I bolded it. If they put it a certain way, I left it that way so that you can see the actual work that the subcommittees were doing and how the recommendations were lifted from that work. And so there's a lot there, as you can see in those appendices. And, just for the sake of not confusing all of us. I wouldn't go too deep into it. That's something that when the subcommittees come back together, we can definitely ask them, like, was there a reason that this was a bigger or a more pointed out piece than another. But really the point of including all of those in the appendix was for you as a board to see the transparency of our process, and for the community to see that we're being completely transparent with their notes, with their ideas and such, as we created this document. Does that make sense?
So that's a long footnote to put for each one of these. So that whole explanation is why it's in bold.
Well, I don't know. Honestly, I couldn't tell you why it's in bold, because that came from the academic
That's all I
curriculum
asked,
subcommittee.
is why is it in bold?
So what I'm saying is each committee decided what they were doing individually. So we'd have to ask them. We didn't go into that much depth because really we were trying to get them to understand the process.
Why?
Would it be helpful, like, if, what page are you on, Phil?
36.
36.
Dynamics.
So the subcommittee summaries.
Yeah, and if we had a heading on each page, that would be helpful.
Mine is not the bold, so.
Power dynamics, rectangle 2, which starting with professional development to build leadership capacity, that's in bold. Intentionally diverse hiring families is in bold, but the other stuff isn't.
It's there, I think it's just a different font, but maybe that's one of the issues. It's not as easy to read if there's some things that are, there's different fonts, there's some things that are italic, there's some things that are capitalized, there's some things that have capitalizations in a sentence when others don't. It's so this kind of making it more just the same across the board. Sometimes there's bullet points, sometimes there's dashes, sometimes there's.
Yes, those were their notes. So I literally just took their notes exactly as they wrote them. I didn't do any interpreting or anything like that of those. What I did when the interpreting happened is in the actual document that you see above that.
Is there a reason why we couldn't just reformat everything without, we don't need to change the content, but just so that it's, even if they're based on notes, what we read doesn't need to be in a note format, perhaps.
What I think might provide more clarity is if for Appendix B, which starts on page 25, if there were just a really brief, like a simple sentence saying, these, these are notes developed, or this shows the work in progress by each subcommittee, in full transparency, like these are notes or things as they developed from the subcommittees. But then page 33, those are, that is the summary of the recommendations. That is, I think, what we would be referring to do a deeper dive back into those bulleted goals for us and for the rest of the team. So it would be nice if the section that starts on page 33 were just consistent in terms of what font style, etc. Because if I understand correctly, these are action items for us, right?
No, those are not action items for you. So everything in the appendix is not an action item for the board. That is their thinking of where they are right now. So, we can definitely, shifting the font is not a problem, but I don't want you to look at that and go, oh, okay, this is something we as a board need to do. This is their current thinking of where they are in this process. And this process is going to go on. We're going to continue with this year with them, and they're going to get more and more fine-tuned in their thinking. But this is where their thinking is right now. So as you look at that, don't look at it and say, oh, I need to do this. I need to ensure there's no bias or errors in the data collection. Like, that's not the way this is to be summarized. This is a summary of the recommended actions by category. So as they broke down the water of systems change framework for themselves, they started to look at and think about what are some of the policies that we need to think through within each of these subcommittees that we may need to address in summary. So they discussed this over several weeks, and that was a summary of where they're at right now. Then the next piece is the practices. What are some of the practices that we are seeing right now? And now you're seeing all of their notes of what they were kind of fleshing out and thinking over the last few weeks in that. Where you need to focus is on the board actions that the recommended for the board. That's where the board, because we have to pull you up to board level. Some of this is going to be at the curriculum department or in different department levels, but it's not even ready for that yet. This is to kind of give you an update of this is where they are, this is what they're thinking, and they still have more digging to do because their data is not complete. They only had a very small subset of data to look at to come up with these recommendations. And as we move forward, they're going to get more data, and this is going to shift.
Well, I'm glad I got that clarification. Yeah. So I'm still having a little trouble in general with the clarity, but I'm gonna like sit with it and
And I'm just gonna
look at the next version.
jump in real quick on page 25, under appendix B. So in the goals area, it looks like we have one group did short midterm, another group did short medium term, another group did short term, midterm, long term. And there's like two definitions now of what those terms are. So
Exactly.
one is 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, and a long term is 5 to 10 years. Don't know what midterm.
And so what we asked,
Using midterm and medium term. So are those two different things?
so that was what the way the groups interpreted them, which I found interesting as well. As I was looking at it, was just kind of like, okay, this is where their thinking is going. Part of the challenge is that as folks go through this process, they're learning and documenting their learning as they go. And so one of the first tasks that they had were to think about what are some short, mid, and long-term goals that you're thinking about. And this was very early in the process that they were really contemplating, like, what do we want to see happen? What do we want to see change over time as we work for equity? And so typically short-term is in the first year. So, you know, short term, first year, second year, maybe the third year, but keeping in mind that the implementation science that we know operates with being able to implement anything new is a 10-year process at minimum. And so we know that from our work with implementation science over several years with school districts and the work that we're trying to do. And so if you take that as your long-term goal is over 10 years, then you can see that, you know, in the first couple of years, what are we trying to do? In the middle years, 3 to 5 years, what are we trying to do? And then over the long haul, what are we trying to do? And that was just to start framing their thinking. And so again, those appendices, that appendix B is really their notes and their thinking around, and you can see the progression as if you read it from like kind of top to bottom, you can see how they're progressively getting more and more concrete in what they're thinking because they're learning what equity is as a team. They don't know exactly, they're still trying to get their minds around what is equity and identify equity gaps within the district and how are we going to address some of those equity gaps while still processing that we have equity gaps. So there are folks that are still struggling with the fact that, oh my goodness, we are seeing things that are inequitable with our children, and that's still a struggle for them. Does that make sense?
So I apologize. I didn't ask the question correctly. I understand what short, mid, and long-term goals are. I'm just asking, can you agree on terminology? That's all I'm asking.
I mean, we can talk to them once they come back together. We can ask them, the culture and climate group, instead of calling it medium term, to call it midterm. But the term we gave them was midterm. But you know, like I said, I just took exactly what they said, so that I'm not messing with their data as they're still working on it, because that wouldn't be honest with the entire process if I were to shift it. But we can definitely talk
So
to
they
them.
need to change.
Exactly. They can do that. Once they come together as a group and they start really bringing this all together, they'll do that.
And then if we can get, just me, if we can just use black as the color for text, because this one here has red and blue and yellow and bold.
Page 25.
Page 25, yeah. That's it for me.
Yeah. We just add a sentence that these are rough notes, because these were activities we did, I remember doing them, and so they copied and pasted them. The caveat, these are rough notes directly from it to represent the process, and then that'll help ease all of our hyper-focused brains on the formatting perhaps too, because then this is to show the rough work. So, I think that's helpful.
That is helpful. That is a good recommendation.
Exactly. Exactly.
My question is, so is this document for us to see and learn from, or is it something that is also going to be posted on our website?
It will definitely be posted on our website.
So the standard for that is going to be, in my opinion, is much higher than it was just something that we're looking at. Because I mean, I understand what it says, and I think we're all willing to do the work, and that's different from something that we post for everyone to see. I think that's a very different standard. So,
I'd like to share it with CSBA when we get done, but not yet.
So maybe that there may be several different iterations. If the goal is to put it on the website, I mean, we can start working off it immediately, but for the website, then it may be that we need to see it more than just once.
Sure. I think, yeah, so I think we have a good handle on the changes that are being requested and the idea of different iterations. Regardless of when we approve it, I think is going to be important because, as we've said from the beginning, this is ongoing work, and I think there's a transparency to be able to say this is where we are now, and we're not perfect now. But I also understand the intention to have our documents.
So I just want to
Certain
add,
readability standards and other standards.
I just want to add, very comprehensive. So yay for that. And I can tell you that trying to get as many factors and moving parts into this statement is got to be a challenge. And I just can't wait to share that, with our colleagues in other districts and stuff, and get some feedback too.
And if I may, Scott, or Superintendent Turnbull, part of this work that we were saying before, this is the messiness that we were talking about before. This work is intentionally messy because equity and identifying inequities is intentionally messy. And so while I am actually a self-proclaimed, and anybody who works with me will tell you I'm a perfectionist. I want every I dotted, every T crossed. I am with you on the, can it all be the same font, the same color? Can it all be streamlined? And eventually it will get there. But watching the progression is also part of the transparency and the messiness of this work. It's also part of the authenticity of this is genuinely where we are as a school district. You can see that we're wrestling with this. And as this work starts to get more and more deep and more personal, this messiness is what's going to keep our authenticity and keep people on board, as opposed to feeling like everything needs to be polished, because this is not a polished process until we get further into it. Then you'll start to see much more polished types of work. But that's why it's in the appendices. If you see everything that's in the actual report is streamlined. And so we took significant time to do that. But then with the appendices, we wanted you as a board and as a community to see that, hey, there are folks that are actually wrestling with this. And as an entire country, we are wrestling with this. And so Cal's ahead of the game with wrestling with it and wrestling with it in public. And so and we can definitely work with both philosophies, but that's the rationale behind it, is to demonstrate the messiness and the challenges of this work.
So this is golden about this stuff.
Well, we will work on all of them, but we received from the board. Thanks for all the valuable input.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna bring this back on November 17th.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, I know this is all really coming from us wanting to get it right. So with the, with the, something that, might feel really, focused on detail or just repeated requests for clarification, et cetera, right? I mean, it's really gratifying that we are all on the same page about wanting to do this work, wanting to get it right, wanting what we present to the community about the work to reflect our beliefs and to reflect, and to make this understandable and something that people truly can understand and be a part of. So that just.
Well,
that's
no,
the why. That's
No,
the
I think
why
it's
almost,
great. I
right?
think it's great that, everybody's having the input instead of just rubber stamping.
Right,
And
totally.
that's an excellent engagement.
Yeah.
But keep it messy, right? Intensely messy, I like that. But no, I think it's golden, and honestly, I'm glad you guys are coming up with, some of these sentences, because sometimes I get too embarrassed to say,
Oh.
I don't understand this sentence, because, there's a lot out there that I just don't understand, so that actually makes me feel good too. So anyways, I'm glad we'll bring this back, and November 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Hall.
Dr. Holt. Okay, with that, is there any correspondence? Yes,
I received an email from a member.
talking to Mike.
I received an email from a member of the public regarding one of our programs. I'd like to know how he knows things for this.
Okay. All right, and then future agenda items. Do we have anything that, I know we're gonna have some busy stuff coming up with maps, and in the next meeting, we're gonna have some maps at the meeting, so we're gonna have some busy meetings. And if we have no other agenda items to bring forward, let's make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Yeah, okay, second. Long-winded discussion. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.